With the dust settling on Arcane's second and final season, I think I can say with absolute certainty that Arcane is a modern classic. Arcane is without a doubt one of the biggest shows to come out in recent years. It's certainly one of the most critically acclaimed, with everyone raving about a League of Legends project. Do you know how crazy that is? League is one of the most mocked video games around. Even League of Legends players hate League of Legends. Do you know how good Arcane is that even the most ardent hater of League can't help but fall in love with it? What's great about this series is that you don't need any knowledge of the game to enjoy it. In fact, you may even enjoy it more since some of the characters transform and become something very different by the end of this series, and by not playing the game, these unexpected transitions will be even more shocking and impactful. This show is mesmerising and boasts some of the strongest character work and storytelling that you could hope for in a TV show, and might also currently stand as the peak of the animation medium, at least in a series format. Season 1 told the tale of two cities, Piltover and the Undercity. Piltover is the land of nobility, where class, etiquette and progress reign supreme, where scientists push the boundaries of what a human can achieve, and where opportunity lies around every corner. The Undercity, on the other hand, is where the dregs of society and the have-nots dwell, where the poor come together to support one another as a community, a place that even the sun wishes to avoid. After a failed war between the two cities, an uneasy truce maintains peace, yet it's always very obvious to the viewer that this peace is nothing more than a house of cards, and it wouldn't take much wind to send all those cards tumbling down. In Piltover, we follow Jace and Victor as they create Hextech, a combination of both science and magic, something meant to be used as a tool for the benefit of humanity, something that can open doors to parts of the world that were previously unseen, something to reduce the intensity of manual labour, something that could even extend a human's life. And yet it also has the potential to be utilised as a weapon, if not by Jace and Victor, then by someone else. We see a lot of politicking and characters taking advantage of others for their own gains in this side of the story. No matter how pure one's intentions are, there will always be someone waiting in the wings to either twist those intentions or to pour poison in your ear. The Undercity is no better. Whilst there is a sense of community here, there's also a lot of separate factions, all with their own ideals and lofty ambitions. We focus on two sisters who are also the anchors for the entire series, Vi and Jinx. Tragedy has separated these siblings and even put them on opposing sides. Vi is determined to get her sister back, the last remaining member of her family that the city hasn't taken away from her. And Jinx, well, let's just say that Jinx isn't doing too well mentally.
I know. Sisters, right? Can't live with them, can't stuff them back in the old baby maker.
She doesn't know what she wants, and the trauma of her past only clouds her judgment, with her sinking deeper and deeper into psychosis. Can Vi save her sister, and is Jinx even worth saving? This is also ignoring the multitude of other incredible characters in this series, like Silco, who can't help but add fuel to the fire. Watching season 1 was like watching a bunch of people doused in oil smoke next to a powder keg. You have this gnawing, uncomfortable feeling that something bad is going to happen and that things are only going to get worse. And it all leads to a genuinely satisfying conclusion. Or more accurately, a brilliant cliffhanger to keep you excited for season 2. A second season which picks right up from where the first ended. To put it politely, shit has hit the fan. Things could not be worse. We are absolutely watching the worst possible timeline for these characters playing out. Piltover and the Undercity are at each other's throats, and Victor's off doing some weird stuff. Then there's this Beastman hybrid running around, causing problems for everyone, and to top it all off, Caitlyn is banging this ginger Scottish girl who I hate more than anything. Anything that could go wrong does go wrong, and it reaches a point where you go, how can they possibly overcome this situation? It's a fascinating narrative, and one that you'll be invested in due to the complexity of the characters here. We see so many different sides and varying perspectives in this show, and all of them are treated in a mature and respectful way. Even the most vile and evil of characters will have some shred of humanity beating in their cold hearts, and our so-called heroes will easily be swayed by others and make bad decisions. Nothing is black and white here, and it's so refreshing to not know who to root for. No character is positioned as fully one thing. No ideology is presented without merit. You can understand why every character acts the way that they do, and you can't help but even agree with characters who commit atrocities, because they are just so well developed. Each character elicits so much empathy as the show puts you in their shoes. For example, I actually really hated Jinx in this series. She reached a point where she had done so many irredeemable things that I couldn't help but turn my back on her and want to see her face some form of justice and punishment. And I felt that way because she was so well written. Everyone turns their back on Jinx. It's why she struggles with abandonment and doesn't know who to trust. She even becomes a common enemy for the other characters, and yet her fractured mind and trauma over past tragedies is so well presented. Not just through the animation, which fluctuates between different aesthetics and art styles to reflect how her mind is warped, but also through quick cuts and transitions, as well as Ella Purnell's consistently excellent performance. All this made Jinx so sympathetic, and a part of me always wondered what could have been. I always felt that she was beyond redemption, but I knew that had things played out differently, then maybe she could have been someone special and worthy of respect. This world made her what she is, and even though she kept jinxing things, part of me always felt sorry for her and understood why she did what she did. And this high quality characterization is afforded to everyone. I'm sure that you can find so many videos on YouTube dissecting every little thing that every character did or said, because that's how much thought was put into these people and this world, and also how much lore the League of Legends game has to add an extra lens for which you can look at this series from. And best of all, every actor brings their A game to these characters. There's of course Ella Purnell, who I previously mentioned. She seems to be something of a rising star at the moment, given her notable performances in shows like Fallout and Sweet Pea, as well as of course her incredible portrayal of Jinx. Hailee Steinfeld is probably the most famous member of the cast, who could have very easily seen Arcane as just an animated show beneath her pay grade. But no, she puts her heart and soul into injecting Vi with so much life. And whilst this may be an ensemble show where every character is treated with care and respect, Vi is still easily the closest thing that Arcane has to a protagonist, and Hailee Steinfeld does a brilliant job of giving Vi the necessary grit and gravitas, as well as a healthy dose of generosity, to make her a worthy lead to this series. Katie Lung is able to show the many sides to Caitlyn, as the second season has her character pulled more and more to the dark side. Jace, one of my favourite characters, was beautifully brought to the screen by Kevin Alejandro. Jace gets put through the ringer, and Kevin was more than capable of illustrating the multitude of emotions swirling within the character. Silco, another one of my faves, has an incredible performance courtesy of Jason Spisak, who is somehow also the voice of Kid Flash in Young Justice. Now that is range. And Harry Lloyd voices Victor. He's a massive actor in England. You'll probably know him as Viserys in Game of Thrones. He sounds nothing like Victor in real life. Also, Miyavi voiced Finn. Miyavi, if you didn't know, is a Japanese singer-songwriter who's done a few different anime openings like Kokoku's, one of my personal favourites, as well as the recent Code Geass opening. He was in this? I guess the cast for this was a lot more stacked than I initially realised. The point is, everyone was great, with even big name voice actors like Yuri Lowenthal and Roger Craig Smith getting stuck in. But enough about the voice acting, let's talk about Arcane's greatest feature, its animation. Arcane has objectively strong animation. It is just bewitching. I'd even say that the animation somehow one-upped itself for Season 2. The French studio Fortiche have done an amazing job on this series, and I'm not surprised that altogether the cost of making Arcane has hit approximately $250 million. Money well spent in my opinion, better to spend it on this than Red 1, which costs the same amount. Now Arcane employs a combination of 3D and 2D animation. with character models being in 3 dimensions, whilst other elements like fires and tears are illustrated in 2D. It creates a very unique and pretty aesthetic, and it's not just the character models that are extremely detailed, but also the backgrounds too, since all of them are digitally hand painted. With the animation being of such a high standard, it's no surprise that the fight scenes are breathtaking to behold. This is jaw-dropping choreography that live action would struggle to replicate, and the direction and cinematography are equally incredible. Arcane is the gold standard of the idea that sometimes things are better in animation. Honestly, with how fluid and polished this animation is, I'm genuinely shocked that there was no motion capture involved. Everything was just keyframes. That just goes to show how talented the artists are behind this show, and I can't wait to see what they produce next.
How are you walking?
Now, I do have one criticism of Arcane, specifically of Season 2. I currently feel very mixed about this series ending. Now, to be clear, I still love Season 2, and I think the final episode, for the most part, was fantastic. Especially with Echo getting such a major spotlight. Great character, by the way. But I would be lying if I said that the ending left me completely satisfied. I can't put my finger on exactly why that's the case, but I do think that the pacing of this second season played a part in it. I genuinely think that Arcane would have benefited from another season, or even just a few more episodes. I feel like things descended into chaos and escalated into madness a little too quickly, and I think a bit more breathing room would have really helped with that transition. It's also the fact that there's quite a few deaths in this season, shocking deaths too, and yet we don't really see how anyone feels about these deaths. There's no individual funeral, no comments from the characters implying that they are distraught over their lover's death, nothing. Perhaps just a meteor epilogue would have sufficed. Maybe it's because I also know that this isn't really the end. Yes, it's the end of Arcane, but not this universe. These character stories have come to an end, but there's so many other League of Legends characters to make Arcane level series about, and the ending to this show feels less of an actual ending and more of a stay tuned for more in the future. Ultimately, I think the reason Arcane's ending hasn't landed as well for me as I'm assuming it has for other people is because it didn't give me closure. I'm not attached to League of Legends, I'm attached to Arcane. So in this case, having the series go, there's more League shows coming, instead of firmly closing the book on Arcane, is likely why I'm not completely satisfied. Maybe my opinion will change in the future after everyone gets the opportunity to dissect this season, and maybe I just want more Arcane. And saying goodbye to this series so soon after it began is too much for me. But in the end, it doesn't even matter. Arcane is a must-watch show. It boasts spectacular animation, brilliant performances for superbly written characters, and a world and narrative polished to a refined sheen. You are missing out by not watching the show, and that's something I recommend you rectify right this instant. However, these are just my thoughts on Arcane. What are yours? Did you like this series or not? Who's your favourite character? Mine would either be Silco, Jace, Echo, or Heimerdinger. I love that little gremlin. And have you played League of Legends before? Or are you only a fan of Arcane? Let me know the answers to all of those questions, as well as your general thoughts, down in the comments below. And whilst you're down there, do be sure to hit the like button, it really helps me out. And if you're feeling especially generous, then do consider subscribing. I'd love to have you become a regular viewer. But until next time, thank you so much for watching this video, I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.
I'm doing this for us, Jinx. All of us. The sons and daughters of Zon deserve more than their runoff.
Won't happen again.
I know.